I just wanted to just run through some bits and pieces. Basically, the biggest thing that I'm doing right now is I'm working on something to do with that server to bring it back to life. One of the biggest things I have realized is that I'm not going to be able to continuously do streams and things for it too often anymore because everything's just gotten substantially more busy recently. I just haven't had a chance to really go back and look into it properly. Then there's also the other thing of the fact that I'm slowly but surely getting burnt out of Origins content as a whole, which I don't know how long that would last for or whatever that would be, but basically at this point, when it comes down to Origins and bits and pieces like that, it is slowly getting a bit like, it's one of those things where I kind of want to not do those videos anymore, but I kind of still have to for the time being because, it's the main content for my channel kind of situation. I've already worked out my plan for that one. Don't worry too much about it kind of deal. But one of the things I wanted to address is the stuff about the actual server that I've been running for the past almost 2 months at this point. One of the biggest things is we're thinking of trying to make it so that there's more people on the server itself, as I have noticed that there's been a complete lapse of activity in that server aside from a few people who have been active in the server. Which kind of just puts us in a weird area where it's what do I do with that kind of thing? Because there are people who do want to see the server reset because they spent way too much time on it and they don't actually want to play it that much anymore. Then you've also got people who don't want to see it reset and probably won't play again if it does get reset. It's just a weird situation we're currently in with that one because we're trying to decipher what's going to be the best thing to do. Don't mind the dog in the background if you can hear it. Mainly because it's just there's a lot of different things to think about here. One of the more interesting things, though, about it is that we have to, what's the best way to go around that one? We have to get in some new plugins and bits and pieces to make, roles and stuff for the moderators and just make it more, what's the best word for it? But we need to get some plugins and stuff into the server. Last time I tried to do that, it broke everything. So either A, we have to go through and we have to do a lot of things and potentially break Origins. For example, the Flincher is one of the Origins that gets severely broken at this point in time with certain plugins. We might find a workaround to that, we might not, and it's just a weird situation where we can't exactly do too much with the server because it's just what can we do? We're sitting in a situation where if we go with a fabric server, it is a lot more annoying, a lot more problems to go through when it comes to setting up the actual server with some plugins and bits and pieces along those lines than what it would be for normal things. But at the same time, what else can we do? Because everyone here wants the Origin server, and I completely understand that. In fact, I find that fair enough. You guys are here because, you want an Origins SMP server. That's why you pay for it. It's why you come and play it. It's what you want to do type thing. So, at this point in time, considering how the announcements polls pretty much gone mostly in favor of just doing an Origins server, we're probably going to go with that. But one of the big things to it is that we may potentially have to reset the server depending on what happens. Because we can't guarantee that we'll be able to actually successfully do things to do with it, right? We don't know how well it's going to go to implement the new plugins to the current version of the server. But then there's also the people that don't want to play the current server because they've put too much time into it. Which then I also see that point of view. Right now, we want to try, I'm thinking of making the server public, where you can get in for free at some point in time in the future. That isn't 100% confirmed just yet, because a lot of adjustments that I have to do in order to actually figure out what I want to do with it. There are going to be benefits for people who are channel members, especially if you're above the certain tier that's now been, my channel membership system's been adjusted a lot recently to prepare for these server changes. But the idea is here, if we have to reset it, what I want to do is reset it, get plugins, get everything working to the best we can, then get a lot of Origins in there, pretty much set it up so that it can run for at least a month, maybe 2 of them, make a video announcing that it's going public, and then for people who are paid channel members will get access to the server 5 days before everyone else does. They get a priority whitelisting whitelisting section so they can get in first serve type thing because they're paying people and the free guys getting a little bit afterwards type situation. As well as you'd get like a special rank at least on the server. I have no idea if we'll be giving special commands to members at all because we don't know. Like we're trying to figure out what's going to be exactly fair that doesn't make it seem like that we want to make it fair so the people who are paying aren't exactly going to get a million benefits and like pretty much like, oh, this certain thing's locked behind a paywall, you must pay to get access to it, stuff along those lines. We don't want to do that. But we also want to like give incentive to people to actually do a little bit more than just play the server and actually maybe provide support to it if they can do so. Yeah, pretty much not pay to win. So, like, there's also another thing that we've been looking at is the fact that we may potentially do something along the lines of we have a multi-world where there's a survival origins world and then there's also a creative world. The creative world would be locked behind, like, the membership paywall to give, like, a massive benefit. So instead of having a collection of TP commands and things on those lines, you do the $5 a month type thing, you gain access to a massive creative world. And then also to run with that, if you become a channel member at any time whatsoever at the server support tier, which is the $5 tier now, or upwards, you'll gain permanent, like you'll get those permanent member benefits right off the bat until the end of the server. Like till a server gets reset, then your roles will get reset, but until the server gets reset, you'll keep your benefits for paying that first slot of $5. So if you pay $5 one month and then don't ever pay again, whilst I would prefer if people would continuously pay, like it'd be highly appreciated and it would highly help, I don't expect everyone to do so. I expect there's going to be a lot of people where they'll only go to the membership once and then that's it. What if members started with a kit? I don't exactly think that's a good idea. Especially considering that with channel members, you're going to get a 5-day head start. Like, what I'm going to do, like, there's going to be at least 1, 2, maybe 3, like, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but basically, paid members will get a head start to the free people. I don't know how long of a head start they do, but they get the chance to actually get themselves set up, claim a good spot near spawn, or find a spot way out of spawn, depending on how you feel like it, and claim it for yourself. Because we'll still have the claim system in there, because that is going to be absolutely necessary if we do become a public server. Like, I'm either thinking it's going to be either 5 days of a head start or 24-hour window. Like, one of the two, I'm not 100% sure yet. Another thing is that we're going to have to organize the more moderators and things on those lines so we can have a little bit more of a control over the situation. Like, it potentially, because we know it's going to be an open server, but one of the things on those lines is that it's always going to be a server you have to get whitelisted before you gain access to it. Hence the reason why that there is a paid whitelist ad chat if for those members that currently already have access to the SMP stuff, you'll see that there's the whitelist ad chat's been changed to paid whitelist ad. Basically, the paid whitelist, you'll just gain priority. Basically, it'll be on the moderators and admins to go through that chat first and whitelist all the paying members first, and then go through the free whitelisters and then add them into it. Kind of thing. Quick question? What's a quick question? At this point, the origins are staying at this point because of, like, mostly because most people have, like, it's 40 to the having origins in the server. It's just 7 with they don't care too much about it. So the origins are staying. There's not much we can do about that. It's going to be, like, on us to try and figure out how we can get the plugins to work. At this point in time, I can't confirm that there will or will not be a server reset. It's just one of those things. Could we get some VCs for the server? There are some VCs for the server. They're hidden behind, like, the roles that you need to access it. You just can't see it because you don't have the channel membership. Like, there's an entire category filled with information and everything you need to know about the server and stuff along those lines. Hidden mainly because of the fact that, like, well, you don't need to access it if you don't have the whole membership thing. Because you can't join the server regardless, and it's kind of just being rude and teasing you with all the beautiful chats, but you can't access them whatsoever. So it's just like at this point in time, it is like it's up in the air what we're exactly doing. Like one thing I can say is Origins are staying. It's just how we have to go by it at this point. I can't confirm what's exactly is going to be happening just yet. We may or may not have to reset the server depending on how badly plugins end up breaking things. One of the biggest things that we're going to have to work around is the fact that I do know that one of the plugins that we will need to add to figure out how to do like rankings and more moderation tools and bits and pieces like that does immediately break like certain things, like the flinches dimension is completely ruined. And there's a lot of weird things along those lines that just don't work properly that we have to figure out and understand at this point, but we'll get there. It's one of those things where it's going to take like, if anything, you'll probably won't hear too much news about the SMP server for at least the next week or maybe two, depending on how long it takes to figure out what we're going to be doing, what's going to be easiest, because at the end of the day, it comes down to what's going to work best. But one thing, if the server does get reset, I will be converting the current server into a world download, so those people who want the world will get it. Is it just certain Origin that will break overall? Because of certain ones, can't you remove those? There were other things that broke at the same time as well. One of the big things that pretty much made it so us admins were unable to use creative mode. It did a lot of broken things that we have to figure out. It's just one of the biggest things that made me immediately revert the changes I did was the fact that it broke the flincher dimension entirely. Like, it was completely broken and there was not much we can do to fix it because you got spawned in the void type thing. Like, we're just trying to figure out what we're going to need to do. We have no idea what's precisely is going to happen, but as I said, you will guaranteed, like, if the world does have to get reset, if we do have to reset the server in order to fix some things and do this and that, do like a lot of bit of changes, we will be converting the current server into a downloadable world so everyone can actually play it on their own time in their own survival world if they want to continue playing on it type thing. Another quick question. Well, instead of like saying another quick question, just drop it in the thing. Are you sane or not? I'm human. Best way to answer that question. So it's like, that's where we are at this point in time. We're trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to go around this. Because we are listening to what you guys are saying. Because it's kind of one of those things that the server is for you guys. It's kind of like for your reward for supporting me as a creator and things along those lines. So we kind of are trying to work around to try and figure out what's going to be the best way to go around this. We want to make sure that we can have as many people still enjoy it as possible. There are going to be the few people that just don't want to do it anymore because the server got reset or things along those lines, and there is not much we're going to be able to do to that. Can't speak for anyone else, but I feel like you shouldn't make it public. One of the biggest issues with not doing that, though, is it dies off a lot quicker. If the server is a paid wall type thing, there's a lot of people who miss out. Like, there's a lot of people who miss out on the server because they can't pay to get into it. And so that's why I've just been thinking on this for a while now. Like, I've been thinking of multiple different ways to go around it. Like, this is just what I feel like is going to be the best way to go around it. Where it's just like, you get a good amount of benefits and you might potentially gain access to a creative world with Origins that is already on the same seed. I've been on public servers and it is anarchy. Not always. Anarchy only happens for the servers where the actual owners and moderators aren't actually enforcing rules. That's the thing we're going to have here. It is going to be a lot of issues to deal with, which is why we're going to have to actually increase the size of the moderation team to clean it all up. So we don't have to worry too much about potential problems we may have to deal with. But it's just one of those things where we'll have to make up our minds on what we end up doing, because we're not 100% sure just yet on what's going to be happening. So we'll figure that out when the time comes to pass. At this point in time, we're just going to figure out what's going to happen. Will we have to reset the server in order to get the plugins to work correctly and then work around the plugins from there? Or are we going to get the plugins to work with the current server? It's just that's the big thing that we have to figure out in order to fix things. So the next time you probably hear the server, you may hear it from either a few announcements in this server here, or it might be on a video on my channel. Either. I just want to quickly talk about one thing. As I said earlier, I am slowly getting burnt out with Origins content. Basically, the idea for my main channel at this point is that I want to slowly transition into doing general mods. One big problem I'm having with that is the fact that because a lot less people are going to be clicking on it right off the bat, YouTube doesn't end up pushing the video to everyone. So anyone who's listening to this, whether it be live now or whether you're watching over the VOD that I'll be putting on my VODs channel later that I'll be adding everyone in the server with to go watch, just please keep an eye on my channel. Like, go check out every Sunday because there will be a mod list video, and just give it some support. Even if you don't care to listen to it, just mute your tab, throw it over into a new tab, and just let it play, as it literally helps me by a long shot. Just leaving a like on those videos, just showing that, hey, you want to support this content going forward too, because as I said, because it doesn't have as good as a click-through rate, people don't click on it as much. YouTube end up nuking it entirely and just making sure that it doesn't get seen by everyone who might potentially want to watch it from my audience. So I just say, if you do want to support me as a creator and you can't pay, just watch all my videos, throw them in an empty tab, let it play. You can mute, you can do whatever you choose to. It like literally it does a lot to just let it play out, leave a like on them all. It really does a lot to help me and support my channel. Either way, that's the short stage for today. Hope you did enjoy. You'll be anyone who's in here now, you'll have an later today, like letting you know that, hey, this is out in the VODs channels for the people who want to watch, who missed out on a live thing. Either way, see you guys later today for another video. Bye bye.